Okay, so what's up everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Today is March 7th, 2026. It's exactly 1 p.m. where I'm at right now. And we are continuing and finishing for today our live call-in show series where we react to Adam Curtis's Can't Get You Out of My Head documentary, a series that was requested long time ago by my longtime subscriber, friend, supporter, Nelson Moreno, who is also my CIA handle. Not a terrorist. I am not a terrorist, okay? Yeah, so we're going to be watching the rest of episode 6, Are You Dancer or Are You Pigeon? The previous hour that we watched of this 2-hour documentary centered on Tupac Shakur, his place in this new nebulous, non-centric, neoliberal world order, and how he represented individualism, which I feel like is the entire theme of this documentary, the fight of the individual against the hegemonic system, even if that hegemonic system claims to represent or advocate for the freedom of individuals. That's what I take from this documentary. So Tupac is going to be a part of that story because he is the face of rebellion. He is the face of anti-authoritarianism. He is the Black Prince of Black radicalism, right? So that's what Pac is. But also, in the previous hour that we watched, we learned about Abu Zubaydah, who was a terrorist, who was a real-life terrorist, gun buster for Al-Qaeda, and he got hit in the head with some shrapnel while, busting his guns against the atheist communists in Afghanistan. He ends up writing these fever dream-like diary entries, and he gets captured by the Great Satan, America, taken to a CIA black site where they begin to torture him. They begin to fist fuck him and fucking put electric shots to his genitalia to try to get the truth out of him. And why did they want to get the truth out of him? Well, of course he was a terrorist, but they believed that torture was the best way to do it because there was a prominent psychological view at the time that inside of every single person is another self. So Abu Zubaydah's inner self was the mastermind dangerous terrorist. I know I sound absolutely crazy. Shout out to Claudia Zalosli. Shout out to Claudia Zalosli. If you jump into the chat, you will get a shout out. So shout out to Claudia for joining the live stream. And everybody else who will join. I'm going to be reacting to and talking about this documentary. So I'm going to give a shout out. Shout out to Claudia up in the chat. We are watching and reacting to a documentary called Can't Get You Out of My Head, episode 6. That's what we are watching. This is also a call-in show where anyone can call in and talk to me respectfully about anything. You get the idea. Okay, so it's a call-in show. We're reacting to this documentary. I'm giving the brief rundown. Okay, it's also Ramadan, so I'm a bit tired. I've only got 5 hours of sleep, so I'm going to try to do my best to keep it absolutely engaging and fun. But you know how we do it if you've tuned in before. We watch the first 10 minutes. And then we pause and react. So every 10 minutes in the documentary, we pause it no matter where it's at and react to what we just saw. So without further ado, let's get into it right here. We're going to be reacting right now to the 60-minute mark. We're on the 60-minute mark of Adam Curtis's Can't Get You Out of My Head. Let's go.
What Putin had done, she said, was simply take the vast corruption that had begun with the oligarchs and shift it into the public sector. So the civil servants, the managers, and the intelligence agents around Putin all now benefited. One of them put it simply, why take handouts from billionaires if you can become a billionaire yourself? Politkovskaya said that the society Putin had created was one in his own image. It too believed in nothing.
He became president without any program. without any words.
Если бы существовал независимый
If there was independent television,
Путин разнесло
they would tear Putin apart piece by piece.
Это совершенно потому что
He has nothing to debate.
Нет
He has no program. He has no personality. He has no interest. The bureaucrats have made literally millions together with their families. I think they were very happy with Putin. They knew he would create favorable conditions in which corruption could flourish.
Чиновники, каста которых огромная, она миллионная.
3 months after the interview, Anna Politkovskaya was shot outside her apartment in Moscow. But despite the shock and outrage, nothing changed. Since Putin had come to power, the global price of oil had increased massively, and money had poured into Russia. One journalist described what happened. The country, he said, rode through the first decade of the 21st century in a state of semi-oblivion, in a dream world of consumption. Like Bourgeois in China, Edward Limonov believed that the only way to escape from this empty world was to bring back the old dreams from the past. But in his case, the communism was mixed with a fascist nationalism. Was data. It had become a new gold rush. Products of more and more companies around the world were set up to mine all the traces of human behaviour everywhere. And nothing was quite what it seemed. The makers of Roomba revealed that new models would also be able to gather and transmit information about the inside of people's homes. People, though, they added, could always turn this off if they wanted.
Hi, I'm Tristan, Global Passion Ambassador for WeVibe, Couples Vibrator.
Even the vibrator, WeVibe, was discovered transmitting data about people's private behaviour back to the servers.
Good morning, Kayla.
Good morning. I love the morning, don't you?
While the German government instructed parents to destroy any models of Kayla the doll, because it contained what they called a concealed espionage device that could also transmit personal data about the behaviour of the whole family. And Pokemon Go, which was created by a subsidiary of Google, was more than just a game. As well as extracting even more data from the players' phones, it was also what one researcher described as persuasive gaming. An experiment to see if you could move mass groups of people around to where you wanted them. As well as having fun, the players could also be guided to what was called sponsored locations, cafes and bars that would pay to be a part of the system. One journalist described the aim. Pokemon, she said, is about herding people to monetize checkpoints without them being fully aware of it. All this was not only creating a world where human behaviour could be predicted, it was going to do something else. Something that scientists and engineers had been struggling with for 50 years. It was finally going to solve the problem of how to create real artificial intelligence. But it would do it by creating machines that could see a different kind of reality, one that was hidden from human beings. The key figure who did this was a psychologist called Geoffrey Hinton. He was the great-great-grandson of George Boole, who had invented Boolean logic that is behind all the algorithms in modern computers. In the 1990s, Hinton realised that the idea that you can create AI by feeding rules of human logic into the machines had completely failed. What Hinton said was that you do the opposite. You get rid of all the rules of logic, and instead feed a mass of data into the computer and let it look for its own connections and patterns. He used what were called neural networks, where the connections inside the computer mimicked the human brain.
Back in the 90s, there was a completely different paradigm that wasn't called artificial intelligence, it was called neural networks, that said, we know about an intelligent system, it's the brain. And the way that works is you have lots of little processors with lots of connections between them, and you change the strengths of the connections, and that's how you learn things. And those connection strength changes have to somehow be driven by data. You're not programmed, you somehow absorb information from data. And you can't do it with rules, there's too many rules to write. You just have to learn it from data.
Now, that data was available online, and Hinton began to feed millions of words and images into the machines, and instructed them to look for patterns. To learn a language, the neural network would look for which particular words appeared next to each other in the billions of sentences they were scanning, and which were far apart. The machine is not interested in the meaning of the sentence, only the patterns. It was a completely different way of making sense of reality. Human beings told themselves stories about what was happening around them minute by minute. Hinton's neural networks were a kind of intelligence that completely ignored all stories. Instead, they crossed back and forth across time and space as they searched through data on the internet, looking for links and patterns that human beings would never be able to see or understand. Hinton began to work on artificial intelligence at Google, and he gave what he had created a name. He called it Vector World. It expressed what was becoming one of the most powerful mythologies of our age. The idea that had begun with complexity theory in the early 1990s. It said that the world is too complicated for us as human beings to understand. But nothing is too complicated for the machines and the data, for they can see the hidden reality under the surface. And this new fragmented way of ordering reality into patterns was going to spread. And as it did, it would detach human beings even further from understanding what was happening in the real world. In the banks, computers were being used to package the vast amounts of mortgages that were being lent in the property boom to everyone and anyone. The computers cut up the dangerous high-risk loans and recombined them with other, safer loans. The bankers believed that this neutralised the risk and stabilised the system. But as they did this, the connection of the debts to human reality was broken. Instead, they simply became patterns of millions of fragments of meaningless data moving harmlessly around the system in the server farms. What had happened was that the bankers, the risk analysts, the rating agencies, the accountants, and the politicians had all given themselves up to this new way of thinking. A way of thinking that said that the data and the algorithms understood the complexity of the world better than you did, which meant that none of them saw the absurdity of what was really happening. A vast wave of money was being lent to millions of poor people who could never afford to pay it back.
All right, so we're stopping here at the 1 hour and 10 minute mark of episode 6 of Can't Get You Out of My Head. A lot to talk about. Shout out to everybody who's joined the live stream. Shout out to Rayon. Shout out to TSB Playing up in the chat as well. And TSB Playing asked me, why are you sad? I was sad because they were talking about here in this story about how, like, the idea that humans cannot understand us in entirety, which I tend to agree with, right? We're so complex that it's hard to make blanket statements or generalizations about all people. But they said here in the documentary that these smart people who programmed Google and the internet and everything like that, they started saying, like, you know who can understand people, though? The computers. The computers are never wrong. The computers became their god. And they said if you just throw a bunch of data into a hard drive, the computer will come out with the right answer. And that should be the answer we follow. We can't trust human instincts. So that's what I found very disheartening, right? Because there is this tendency to believe that we can create something that's so much smarter than ourselves, that truly understands ourselves, which I totally disagree with. I don't think we'll ever have true artificial intelligence, because intelligence comes with the knowledge that you will not be here one day. You have to die. Your life is not perpetual, like the computers, like the robots, like the machines. I disagree that there will be full AI that can understand and comprehend all of human behavior. Even if they have every single book, every single data sheet, every single statistic about human life, there's still more to uncover, and humans are very adaptable. So that's what I found weird. Another thing that was very disheartening is that Russian journalist woman, she was talking about, you know, how Putin has made the country corrupt and molded it in his image, and now people who have political dissent cannot freely express themselves. She got clapped up. She got her ass clapped up, shot, coming out of her apartment just for speaking out against the powers that be. And you know what's sad? Russia is ahead of the United States. I predict a similar future in the United States. We're seeing it happen right now with the Trump administration trying to prosecute journalists just for walking into a church to document a protest, and other people who are outside trying to stop ICE from harassing innocent people in the streets, getting clapped up in the back of the head. That is the future of America. Russia is ahead of America because the future of America is journalists getting shot down in the streets, just like in Russia. Another thing that I thought was interesting in that first 10 minutes is that they were talking about the surveillance state and how, like, neoliberal capitalism sort of creates this surveillance state that is that doesn't feel very heavy-handed. It's not, well, there are elements to it, like you walk outside, you see cameras everywhere and stuff like that, but it's not really the camera on the telephone pole you have to worry about. It's the person just walking around with their cell phone videotaping random people, right? It's the fact that people are playing Pokemon Go and being herded to certain locations without their knowledge. You know what I mean? It's the fact that your TV, your cell phone, your computer is listening to you. You know what I mean? It sounds paranoid. It sounds schizophrenic, but it's actually real. We've all had that experience of saying something to our phone and then looking back at our phone and seeing that what we were talking about is reflected back to us. You were talking about a new pair of jeans. Next thing you know, you get an ads for a new pair of jeans. You know what I mean? So that's the weird part about it. And it's very interesting that the documentary decided to cover it. It's crazy that they sold a children's toy that had surveillance equipment in it. Like, that's just sick. That's some Epstein level ish that only capitalism can produce. But I do believe that heavy surveillance is something that we have to fight against, even within socialist tendencies. When we craft or when we make the socialist state, or we're bending the state to bend towards socialism, we have to fight against this tendency to surveil people. Unfortunately, this is happening in China a lot. To my knowledge, China is one of the most heavily surveilled societies on the planet, right? That's not okay. I believe in people's privacy, people's right to not have everything in the public domain. That's what I have to say. But my guy Nelson is up in the chat. Shout out to Nelson for joining. What's up?
Well, what's up, man? I just got in.
All right, good to see you. Good to see you. We're watching the last hour of episode 6 of Can't Get You Out of My Head. Do you remember this episode?
I remembered maybe overall, but not the 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes you were watching.
Okay,
Yeah.
we just watched the first hour in 10 minutes. And I was surprised that Tupac had such a short part in this, because you said, oh, this episode is heavily Tupac. And I'm like, he was only in it for
No,
like 25 minutes.
I said the first act was Tupac focused.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, what do you think of him including Pac or any aspects? Because I feel like he's trying to include Pac to hammer home the point about individualism versus the state and etc. But what do you think?
Well, what stood out to me was when Tupac was saying that he wanted to inspire guys from the hood to start a revolution. And I was thinking, since when are these guys gonna do any sort of revolution? What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's
But yeah, he was a dreamer, you know.
He was an idealist. He was. I also think Pac, had some mental illness, maybe some undiagnosed mental illness, maybe PTSD, maybe
Some bipolar.
Yeah, something like that. I think the more I think about his life and what he went through, it's hard for me to say he was all okay in there.
You know, I really like that scene. I think he was in jail. And he was saying, "Trust no one."
Mm-hmm.
No one.
Yeah, but don't give it away yet. But they're talking about Abu Zubaydah, right? And this was a guy who was a terrorist who got some
multiple personality disorder.
Yeah, and we're not finished yet. But what do you think about the Abu Zubaydah storyline within this?
I mean, it's kind of. I think it's interesting, a commonality that Islam has with the overall thesis in this series is about the submission of yourself to a much larger thing,
Mm-hmm.
And it went tragically for what was his name?
Abu Zubaydah.
For Abu Zubaydah, yeah.
Interesting.
He really got caught by the individualist empire.
Interesting. I guess you can look at Islam as a type of collectivism, right? For me as a Muslim, I put the emphasis more on Tawheed, which is the idea that God is one, right? And also that by extension, we as humans are all one. So I guess you could also look at that as like a type of collectivism, but I also find a lot of arguments for like individualism within Islam as well. You know, like even if nobody else believed in this deen, we would hold fast to it. You know, the best thing you can do as a Muslim is pray alone at night when nobody can see you. So like, there's a lot of things in there too that build for the individual. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Don't get too caught up in your CIA reports, man. You can always write them later.
The CIA is old school, man. We're on some new shit, man.
Yeah, some new shit. Okay. Don't worry. Just to the microphone. I love America. I love America #1. Europe #1. The West, good. The West is good. It's very good. Okay. Anyway, I guess we'll watch the next 10 minutes, since we took about 10 minutes talking about it, and then we'll give our reactions to it. We're at the 1 hour and 10 minute mark, and we'll stop at 1:20.
But then it got more complicated, because human beings were also exposed to the avalanche of data online. And they started to behave in very much the same way as Geoffrey Hinton's artificial intelligence machines. They too spent vast amounts of time searching through all the data, looking for patterns, links, and coincidences that had no obvious meaning. But being human beings, they then turned them into fantastic, elaborate stories. They were called conspiracy theories. Years before, Kerry Thornley and his friend Greg Hill had started what they called Operation Mindfuck. They had spread the conspiracy theory that the Illuminati were really the secret rulers of the world. They had done it to parody and ridicule all conspiracy theories, because they thought that they undermined the confidence of individuals and made them easier to control. But now, in the mass of data online, those stories about the Illuminati got mixed up with other conspiracies, both true and false. And out of it came extraordinary, dreamlike stories, built out of fragments of truth and fiction. Millions of people became convinced that all the major stars, from Britney Spears to Beyoncé, were being manipulated and controlled by the Illuminati. The theory said that the Illuminati had worked with the CIA and their MKUltra project, and with Walt Disney, to create a new system of mind control. The stars' videos contained hidden messages, above all, images of triangles, put there by the Illuminati. Telltale clues to what is really happening. One star had anticipated this. In 2012, the Coachella Festival and Dr. Dre used computers and fragments of data from the past to reconstruct Tupac Shakur, and an album Tupac had recorded just before his death was also released. He had called it Killuminati. And in it, Shakur had attacked the way the black community was already, in the 1990s, retreating into conspiracy theories about the Illuminati. They were doing it, he said, to avoid confronting the very real powers that did control their lives. His message was simple, that suspicion was just another form of control.
Tonight, turmoil on the American housing market gets even worse, and the aftershocks wipe tens of billions off world stock markets. The organizations which underpin mortgage lending in America need a multi-billion-dollar bailout.
Are you taking me? Are you asking me what's
In 2008, the systems in the banks that had structured the mortgage loans failed completely. It led to a global economic crash. The governments in Britain and America rescued the banks. But they then decided to transfer the debt that incurred away from the private sector to the public sector. and what was called austerity began. That decision was going to have powerful consequences, because it created anger among millions of people outside the system. Then, in the wake of the crash, evidence of widespread corruption came out. That all the major banks had been rigging interest rates, and many of them had been laundering money for organised crime, including the drug cartels in Mexico. But again, nothing seemed to change. A few lowly people were prosecuted, and experts talked of reforms and stress tests. And the shock among those outside the system grew further. And from that came the reaction.
It was the elites, and people like you and me. People that bought into the system. And who's been held accountable? Name me one banker, one CEO, one law firm, one accounting firm. We basically just flooded the zone with liquidity. We bailed out the party of Davos. And let me say it differently. The party of Davos, the scientific, engineering, managerial, financial, cultural elite, bailed themselves out. But remember, this populist movement and Donald Trump is not the cause of this. They're the product of this.
And it worked on different levels. It the most obvious level was we've got to take back control from Brussels, but it was also, and I think David Cameron and George Osborne didn't quite appreciate this, it was also about taking back control of the system itself. It was, for a lot of people, take back control made them think, yeah, these are the guys who screwed up the economy, who drove it off a cliff in 2008, whose mates are all the Goldman Sachs bankers and the hedge funders on massive bonuses. Us mugs on PAYE are the ones paying the bills for this. We'll show those guys. We'll take back control from you lot in London.
For Dominic Cummings, Brexit was not an end in itself. For him, it was a way of getting rid of the failed elites and the old political systems that ran Britain. In their place, he was going to use modern network technologies and data to transform an old, decaying society. But what Cummings hadn't reckoned with was how the campaign that he had begun would awaken ghosts from Britain's past.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage leader of the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage.
And how they would reach out to possess Brexit and modern Britain. At the end of 2011, the body of a British man was discovered in the Lucky Holiday Hotel in Chongqing. It was Neil Haywood, who had been friends with Bourgeois and his wife. There were rumours that he had been murdered.
Did a British man die here? Don't take interviews. But do you know if it's actually true that happened? Did that actually happen? Yeah, we got. Okay.
After the body was found, Bour's police chief came to him, and he told him that Bour's wife had arranged the murder because Haywood was threatening to reveal that she had been illegally moving large amounts of money abroad. The police chief then fled to the American consulate in nearby Chengdu because he feared that Bour was going to kill him. And he told the press that Bour and his wife were really ruthless gangsters who had brought corruption to the very top of the Communist Party. What then came out shocked China. It was alleged that while Bour had portrayed himself as an idealistic hero and paraded gangsters and corrupt officials in front of the cameras, he and his police chief had really been using extreme violence and torture, taking millions from organised criminals and bribes from property developers, and then keeping the money for themselves. While Bour sang songs praising Mao Zedong, he had really just been using those revolutionary ideas as a smokescreen to hide corruption that went to the very heart of the city government. But Bourgeois denied all the allegations. He came to the party conference in Beijing and insisted that what was happening was an attempt to smear him by the corrupt networks that he was rooting out in Chongqing. No one knew who to believe. There were rumours that really it was an even more complex plot by his rivals in Beijing to stop Bour from getting power. And in the middle...
Alright, so we're at the 20-minute mark of episode 6, Can't Get You Out of My Head. A lot there that was interesting. I like the part where he brings up that, conspiratorial thinking became very prominent in America, especially with the internet, right? And black people have been on some conspiracy shit. We've been saying like, hey, didn't you know Thomas Jefferson had a secret black daughter? Black people knew about that before they discovered Sally Hemings. You know what I mean? Black people been on some shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, that eating all that Popeyes will make your booty get bigger. And now we find out there's steroids in the chicken that causes children to develop quicker. You know what I mean? Like, all that type of shit. So I thought it was interesting that they brought up Pac and the Illuminati thing, because he said explicitly, no conspiracy thinking. No conspiracy thinking. But interesting enough, when I was younger, I used to be into all that Illuminati shit, secret society, like conspiratorial thinking, because I was listening to Tupac and all he was saying was Illuminati all the time. So I was like, what is Illuminati? What is the Illuminati? And yeah, I would go online and people would say Pac was trying to kill the Illuminati. Like he was really in a...
Yeah, I remember watching those interpretations too, that he was like trying to expose the Illuminati and then they killed him.
Because Pac is like Donald Trump to black people, and to like a certain segment of black people. The same way they think about Donald Trump is fighting against the Q, like the secret pedophiles in the government, reptilians. Like that's what some people think Pac was. But anyway, what did you think about those sections, those last 10 minutes? Anything?
Like shout out to Bo. I love Bo. Yeah. You remind me of one of my favorites. Michael X.
Michael X should have been more in this series. He could have been the whole series. He needs his own.
There's a movie with Michael X. I told you about it, but yeah, this was really cool. He really reminded me of Michael X. You know, another scammer.
Yeah.
You know, another guy playing to the people. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Also liked when you talked about the 08 crisis, you know, that instead of, you know, maybe of, I don't know, changing the system, I guess they doubled down.
Yeah.
You know, they bail out the banks, austerity politics and so forth, and reliving the consequences of that stuff. And just like Steve Bannon said, you know, Donald Trump is Steve Bannon also actually, but Donald Trump is a product of these elites, you know, a response, I guess you could say. And also liked what you talked about Brexit, about, you know, popular anger, distrust of the overall system, and like how trust in the experts, in these technocrats collapsed. So and no coherent ideology like erupted. So like that stuff of old England, like in entity politics and so forth, came back to the surface. I suppose.
Yeah. Do you think by Adam Curtis bringing up this this topic that, you know, this digitalization of finance created this crisis, right? They let the computers do all the trading, and next thing you know, poor people get all this money for houses they can't buy, right? And then the government bails out those rich people who let that happen. And then those same rich people say, you know what is corrupt? Rich people bailing out themselves, right? That's the whole Donald Trump, Steve Bannon play. Do you think he's trying to, you know, undermine his own argument that, you know, that people are always trying to fight against, you know, a system? They want to be individual. They want to be free. Because that's what is sort of hard for me to square. This idea that people allowed rich people basically to fuck them again by letting the Trumps and Steve Bannons and other right-wingers run the world after they admitted they fucked it up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think he looks kind of bad on people, yes. But I think it looks really bad on people, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. But I think the point here is like there was a king, and the king lost the battle. Mm. But the king, the king lost the war actually, but the king remains with the crown. You know what I'm saying? So the legitimacy of the king, the legitimacy survived, but no, on the contrary, the system survived, right? But the legitimacy of the system was lost, you know. So it's like it's not natural, you know. It's being politically protected.
Yeah, they use that power that they accumulate through money to like protect themselves and maintain everything. But it does make people, like you said, look very, very bad. You know what I'm saying? We tend to make these stupid mistakes of letting people that we know fuck us again. You know what I'm saying?
But it does make some sense, you know, and it has some similarity to both, because when people feel cheated and lost and so forth, they fall back into old stories and very charismatic leaders, you know, such as those two examples.
Yeah. With the situation,
strong figures.
Yeah, but with the situation with Bo, it's sort of like, kind of, I mean, China's a one-party state, right? But within that one party, there's like various ideas, right? And Bo was coming across like a populist, leftist type of guy and also hearkening back to like, make China great again. Remember those Mao days?
You know what he was? He was like a dark Bernie Sanders.
Dark Bernie Sanders? I could see that. But also with more nationalism, because Bernie doesn't tap into nationalism. And Bo was trying to get that Mao energy on him. But China's had a major problem with corruption, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I feel like they take corruption more seriously than we do in the West. Like, we allow naked corruption, but tend to think we aren't corrupt. What do you think?
I don't know much about China corruption. I see a lot of people going to jail for corruption, but I don't know if it's corruption or is the party trying to get rid of some enemies. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's probably a mix.
It's probably corrupt. Like every no. Also, like every country, every big country, if there's like money involved, it's going to be like a lot of corruption involved.
Yeah. But like,
I know somebody. I'm not going to say who, of course, but I know somebody who was arrested in Brazil, and they were getting Ozempic to in jail.
Why you trying to? Why would you get Ozempic in jail? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Trying to look better, man. You can't do what you mean.
He's like, I'm gonna be a bad bitch behind bars. That's crazy. I need some Ozempic, man. Nah, you should be trying to gain weight if you up in the Bing. But yeah, man, there's corruption everywhere. This documentary is interesting. I like episode 6. I could say episode 6 reminds me of episode 2 in that I'm drawn in by the stories that they're telling. And I feel like the coherence makes sense, you know?
You feel like it's getting like kind of dark? Because, you know, he talks about conspiracy theories, but this is as like conspiracy theory vibes, you know?
Yeah, dark in the sense that it's getting closer in time to where we are, because now we're talking about Steve Bannon and, you know, the right-wing rise that we're living through right now. And it's getting dark in the sense that it feels hopeless and helpless, because all the other stories, we knew how they ended, right? But we don't know how the Russia-Putin story ends. We don't know how the Trump story ends. You know what I'm saying? So
we're living in those stories.
Yeah, and that's what's a bit scary.
And did you notice that, like, before we had kind of like a contrast between collectivism and individualism, but now like it's basically just individualism.
Yeah, it's weird. Like everything's sort of dissolving into amorphity, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Like no form. That's what I really got from that book, Capitalist Realism. It's like, you know, things have dissolved and liquidated to be formless.
They were diffused into multiple nodes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's multiple.
So it's much. It's since like there's no center, it's much harder to fight it.
Yeah, that's also what I'm getting from this too. And when we're talking about, you know, all this data and the technology around it and the surveillance state, it then becomes sort of like, oh, there really is no way to fight against this. How are we supposed to overthrow a system that can monitor our every single fucking move, every single thought? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. like I have a question for you, which is, it's a Michael X type of question. If like, so like, do you think that like Bo was trying to like genuinely revive real mass politics, but he had his own problems?
I think,
or he was just really like political theater.
Probably a mix of both, and I'm not trying to be a centrist here, but I believe that real diehard communists are far and few in between. Most politicians are narcissistic that want attention. They're the type of people that are too shy to be actors, but too bold to be regular people. So
yeah, it makes sense.
So I believe Bo was tapping into an easy essence that riles people up, nationalism and national pride. And for China, that's Mao. And so, yeah, maybe he wanted to bring the party closer to Mao, but he also wanted to enrich himself. So that's what I think. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe I think I like to think that he was really trying to do it, but he there was so much power in little how do you say checking power?
Yeah, Chongqing, the city he was the mayor of.
No. There was little like what do you say, like a roadblock when you're getting too much power.
Oh yeah,
the name.
There was a roadblock, I guess. Yeah.
There wasn't roadblocks. There was not like. There was like he could gain too much power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was little incentive for him to not be corrupt.
Yeah. I feel like partially maybe China makes their system like that, where it's easy to destroy yourself because they want to root out those people and have easy scapegoats. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, maybe. I just know when Bo started to fall, I just know Xi Jinping was just rubbing his hands.
Rubbing his Winnie the Pooh hands, his big yellow paws, just. Anyway, next 10 minutes we're gonna watch. We're almost at the end of episode 6. Can't get you out of my head. Let's go. Next 30. We're at 120. We're gonna go to 130. Let's go. Oh shit. Come on.
Him by the corrupt networks that he was rooting out in Chongqing. No one knew who to believe. There were rumours that really it was an even more complex plot by his rivals in Beijing to stop Bo from getting power. And in the middle of the conference, he and his wife were arrested and thrown into jail. Suddenly, at the end of 2011, a wave of protests burst out in Russia. As well as Pussy Riot, one night a young internet blogger called Alexei Navalny got up on a platform and he chanted the phrase that redefined Russia for what up to then had been an apolitical generation.
Партия шуриков и... Партия шуриков и... Это партия шуриков, воров и убийц. Но я повторю ту кричалку.
Putin was furious. It was complete hypocrisy. He had given the new Russian middle classes prosperity. Now they were stabbing him in the back. He grew increasingly paranoid, fearful that those groups who had benefited from the corruption would turn against him. And to protect himself, he shapeshifted again. Putin did the very thing that Edward Limonov had called for. He created a new organization called the Popular Front to promote Russian nationalism. But Putin went much further than Namonov, because he summoned up a dark, frightening vision from Russia's past. It said that Russia as a whole, what was called Eurasia, was the last defence against a corrupt West that was trying to take over the whole world. It was a great power nationalism that challenged America's idea of its exceptionalism. What Putin was promoting was Russian exceptionalism. It was epitomised by the Nightwolves, an extreme nationalist motorcycle club who announced that they were now Putin's bodyguards.
Очнулась евразийская держава, отлитая в сеченье золотом, и русский меч измножен отчей славой. Мы вынимаем в трепете святом, и ржаве той истоки нашей силы, и нам пора врагов предостеречь, напомнить им историю России, и перед врагами русский меч.
The Nightwolves put on mass shows that dramatised the paranoid conspiracy theory that America, led by Barack Obama and the bankers, and the Illuminati, were planning to undermine Vladimir Putin and destroy Russia. In the West, after the crash, the bankers had also now become the villains. They were at the centre of conspiracy theories that said that they were running a global system of corruption. A wave of leaked documents seemed to show that the City of London had become the centre of an international network that was being used to hide the illegal fortunes of kleptocrats from all around the world. Hundreds of billions, it was alleged, was being taken through London and then hidden in a network of secretive offshore territories that anti-corruption investigators called the Second Empire. But the problem was, no one could actually find out how much of this was really true. Because of something else the City of London had always prided itself on from the time of the Empire: its discretion.
Jim, how's the market?
It's not much doing.
Nothing else?
Is it you? I'll give you something to take me.
Sorry, old man. Wrong way, I'm afraid.
Is that all? Has he done it?
No, he's evidently not satisfied. He'll try somewhere else.
Now, the discretion that the city was still so proud of had in reality turned into a force shield that stopped any proper investigation of what was really going on. Eminent law firms immediately issued libel writs to anyone trying to find out what was happening. But by suppressing any real information, the suspicions grew that there was a dark, frightening world of dictators, drug lords, Russian gangsters, arms dealers and international bankers, all thriving together in the shadows of the City of London. Which reinforced the idea that the world was bewilderingly complicated and way beyond our control. In China, Gu Kailai was put on trial for poisoning Neil Haywood. She had confessed, the court said, and she was given a suspended death sentence. Then her husband, Bo Xilai, was put on trial in the city of Jinan. He denied all the charges of corruption. But outside the court, something unexpected began to happen.
As you can see, Jinan's never seen anything like it. There are huge crowds here watching the media, watching the trial, and everybody who has any sort of grievance, any sort of complaint against the local government or the national government is here to try and get it in.
Doesn't trust the trial environment here.
To make their case, they've been thrusting pieces of paper into my hand.
What happened outside the court in Jinan gave a glimpse of the widespread anger and frustration in China with the ruling system and its corruption. Forces simmering under the surface of the society. The party leaders were split on how to deal both with what Bo Xilai had done and the forces of anger that had now unleashed. Wen Jiabao, who was the premier, said that the problem was that the party had never confronted what had happened during Mao's time. Unless you have political reform and open up the society for democratic debate, Wen said, those ghosts will always threaten. But others disagreed. Above all, the man who had just been appointed the next party secretary, Xi Jinping. His family, like Bo's, had been at the very centre of the frightening forces that Mao Zedong had unleashed. One journalist wrote, "They want to keep that great black box that conceals the struggles and the brutality upon which China has built its staggering economic transformation firmly closed."
I'm going to stop here at the 1 hour, 30-minute mark. To the people that join the live stream that want to call in, don't be impatient. You got to wait. You got to wait until it's discussion time or if you come in at the right time. Anyway, Nelson, any comments on those last 10 minutes if you happen to see them?
I mean, yeah, I'm just, I thought that the city of London is like really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels like a shadow city, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't until like a few years ago I learned that there is London and then the city of London inside. That blew my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else?
I thought it was like, it's like they had like a city under a city, you know, like an underworld city.
Yeah.
Which and they had like financial systems, networks that were not like under control of the larger, you know, country like politics, you know, the democratic politics.
You know, there's an expression.
Like an iceberg.
Yeah, there's an expression. I don't know who said it, but he said that there are small countries and then there are countries that don't know that they're small countries. I don't know who said that, but that was like that's like a phrase that applies to the UK. Like the UK after Brexit, but I would argue even before, during the fall of their empire, they're starting to slowly become just a Romania, a Bulgaria, a Poland. You know what I mean? Like a small.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, they're becoming more of like a middle power.
Yeah, a middle power at least, and like most other island nations with few resources, like the Cayman Islands or Jamaica or Bermuda, they have to basically just become money laundering factories. Places where pirates come with their treasure to bury it. You know, that's what the UK has become.
What did you think of the rest?
I thought it was. I'm so fascinated by Alexei Navalny, and I want to know what you think. I made a video 2 or 3 years ago on this channel talking about Navalny being killed in the Russian jail, and I'm always trying to struggle with his psychology. Like, what did he think was going to happen going back to Russia? You know what I mean? After being such a public dissident in the face of the opposition.
I guess he wanted to show bravery and maybe become a martyr, you know, show like that the movement was larger than him or his life or something like that.
I guess. He's such a fascinating character because on one hand, like he was like an ultra nationalist too. Probably he was, you know, very racist, especially against like Central Asians moving into Russia. You know, he probably would be like a right winger in any other setting, but in the face of Putin, he's like seen as like the face of democracy. You know what I mean? And I always wonder like what would have happened had his revolution been successful. You know, so. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he would have become another Putin, you know. That's how those revolutions usually go. But maybe not, who knows?
Yeah.
He was generally quite brave. So are many other guys, but whatever.
As they're talking about China, they're sort of making this argument like China sort of creates this system because of the corruption and brutality that it took to build this modern industrial sort of nation. You know what I mean? Do you think Russia is sort of like the same way, like post-Soviet Russia will create more Putins, like it's inherent to the system?
I don't know. I think just I think like when things fall, it's hard to imagine. It's harder to imagine different things than what happened before. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. I think the way, you know, Russia as we know it came into being, it's sort of like, you know, Putin is going to be like the last leader that came from that Soviet KGB type era, right? Because all those guys are dying out, you know? But the oligarch Russia is basically just going to be like, you know, a full-on kleptocracy. You know, whoever's got the richest whoever's the richest and whoever can pay the most mercenaries, bodyguards to, you know, enforce law and power, you know what I mean? That's going to be the guy. Like,
I mean, maybe, you know, sometimes I think about maybe, you know, Russia crumbling, you know, becoming multiple warlord states, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of refugee women that you can go there and get access to, you know.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I do not see the hype with these Russian ladies. I do not see the hype.
I see it. And like, I saw it was like really corny, the nationalist stuff that Putin was trying to do, you know.
Wait, who was the motorcycle guys?
Yeah, that whole stuff. It was really corny.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
it was like time to switch it up with some nationalist shit. But
yeah, but what do you think about Pussy Riot breaking into a church? Is that corny?
Nah, that was actually kind of cool. I was like paying attention. I knew them before from their antics.
Yeah.
But I was seeing the lyrics now. They were kind of good. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think most of them got like 10 years in jail or something like that for just this protest, breaking into the church, because this was like an international, you know, story. And Russia,
I think they're all out. I think, you know, the hottest one. I even saw her do a podcast with Zizek. You know,
she did it with Zizek. Slavo Zizek.
Yeah, Slavo.
Anyway, yeah, those Russian guys were corny. It's so funny. They're like trying to be super Russian nationalists, but they look like every single biker in Tennessee. You know, like they look like.
I mean, it looks like family friendly bikers or something.
Yeah, and ChatGPT bikers, Mid-Journey
bikers,
Mid-Journey bikers. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, do you think being a white guy in China is hard? Because I feel like Chinese people just go out of their way to be racist. I can't imagine.
Honestly, if you're white, I think you're definitely gonna have a good time.
You're gonna get a lot of pussy, but I feel like you would also get a lot of like Hong Yang, like white devil. They just call you white. If you know.
I mean, maybe behind your back, you know, in a private setting, if you're kind of annoying, they will definitely call you a white devil. But in your face, they will give you gifts. They'll kiss you in the face. They will kiss you in your face. You know, they will give you their daughter to marry.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yes. There's a video. Did you know that China has these things called marriage markets? Have you heard of that?
I think I saw something on Vice about that, like a long time ago.
Yeah, like you go to this public park and everybody's like, "Here is my son. He's 24. He wants to get married tomorrow." Like people bid.
Yeah, and they showed the salary or something.
Yes, and there was a brother that went out there, and people were like, "Oh," and somebody said, "Take my daughter." It's great. It's on YouTube, man. We should react to that. Black man at the Chinese.
It's very like old ways.
Yes, it's a ancient way. It's prehistoric.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe I will visit one of those markets one day. Who knows?
That's crazy. You're gonna go to the Chinese marriage market. Oh God.
Yeah, man. You gotta see what's up. No, to at least take a peek. You know, just see what's
popping.
What we got there.
See what's popping. See how much they'll pay. See what baddies you offer. That's a great way of like knowing your scale, like knowing where you sit on the attractive scale. You have just the hard.
I did. That dude that died. He gave like advice for black women.
Oh, Kevin Samuels.
Kevin Samuels. It's a nice way to know your sexual market value.
Exactly. Are you a high value man? You really got to see it about that life.
Yeah.
As a Chinese grandmother said, "Oh, I wouldn't pay 30 yen for this motherfucker." Another lady said, "I'll give up the house." Okay, so
But honestly, I don't find Chinese women all that attractive.
Man, Chinese women are hot. Russian women are not hot.
Really?
Chinese women are hot.
They have no, like Chinese women. They have, I don't know if they're bleaching their skin or something, but they have this really like weird tone of the skin, like this weird white.
No, yes, they are heavily bleaching. That is a major problem. Somebody needs to smack
And they have
them.
like the skull sometimes it's like weirdly shaped.
Some of them do have round ass heads, but there's a billion of them, so I've seen enough hot ones of them. I've seen it, and Russian women obviously are not that hot. Russian women are obviously not that hot because the Russian population is going down, so they can't be hot enough to nut in, even by their own men. Japanese women are okay. They're okay. They're okay.
My favorite, you know who are my favorite? Those brown like Thai girls.
Yes, now we're talking. Now we're top tier territory. Now we're talking very dark skinned, untouchable caste. If it's an Asian that would end up in the untouchable caste in India, that is a hot Asian. That's
Yes. I really like those brown Indian girls. Those dark brown Indian girls are very beautiful.
Absolutely. I saw one on the train here in Budapest, and this lady was blacker than me, but she was Indian as hell. She was wearing a sari and everything, and I was like, I don't know how to feel right now. I was like, she just out cultured me, out negroed me everywhere.
Like every time I see a dark British woman, I feel like an Indian. I feel like a British explorer, you know.
By God, look, sir.
They feel exotic as hell.
That's crazy. But yeah, man, Adam Curtis. This documentary is sort of all over the place. I don't know exactly what to say. Interesting things here, bringing it with China, making it come full circle. We're almost done. Let's do another 10 minutes. We're at the 30-minute mark to the 40-minute mark, and then we're going to give commentary. All right, let's go.
Those ghosts will always threaten. But others disagreed. Above all, the man who had just wrote, "They want to keep that great black box that conceals the struggles and the brutality upon which China has built its staggering economic transformation firmly closed." And to keep it closed, Xi Jinping decided to turn China into a giant system in which everyone's behaviour could be predicted, managed, and controlled.
现在儿好几次锁起门呢。对，就是嘞。
The aim was to learn from the data how all the individuals linked together in the society so their behaviour could be predicted, like components in a system.
我们可以追溯到说，出现每一张脸都可以对应说他的身份证，以及他所经过，比如在过去一周，我们回溯他的行经路程，我们也做了像人和车的匹配。那同时在人上匹配还包括金属关系匹配，然后是你经常接触人员之间匹配。就是当摄像机布到或者我们传感器布到一定密度的时候，其实我们会经常知道你跟谁经常在一起。
But there was a further aim, to adjust the behaviour of people so they would fit better into the system. It was called algorithmic governance. And if the data from all the different sources showed a person behaving well, buying the right food for their children, not cheating at computer games, and not jaywalking, then they would be given what were called social credits. This would then give them rewards, from discounts on bills to getting better visibility on dating sites, even avoiding the queue to pay to see a doctor. "50 years before, an American psychologist called B.F. Skinner had become notorious when he had outlined just such a society. Skinner had shown how he could easily alter the behaviour of animals, like pigeons, by using a simple system of rewards. He called it operant conditioning.
In this experiment, he must peck at the cross 10 times before the food is forthcoming. After 4 or 5 sessions, the pigeon learns the routine perfectly and pecked at the cross wherever he sees it, without being in the least upset at being made to work for his living.
Now that produces in a rat or a pigeon or a monkey and in a man a very high rate of activity. And if you build up, you can get enormous amounts of behavior out of these organisms for very little pay. You don't need to give them very much to induce a lot of that. Now, a world in which a great many productive things occur on this schedule would be a wonderful world.
Skinner wrote a novel called Walden 2 that described a future utopia where all human behavior would be controlled through this kind of operant conditioning. It was a utopia, he said, because it would free society from all the dangerous and irrational impulses inside individuals' minds. All of that could be sealed off by managing people's behavior with rewards and treats. Now, China had found a way of creating just such a system of managing people through the massive data it was gathering. It was being used to create a whole society where what went on inside people's heads was completely irrelevant. Their rational thought and their feelings were all bypassed. It was only their observed behavior that counted. And this allowed those in charge to bury and hide the anger and frustration that had been created in a society that was riddled with corruption and growing inequalities. And if people didn't respond to the treats, they could be forcibly reprogrammed, as it is alleged is happening in large re-education facilities in Xinjiang to hundreds of thousands of the Muslim Uyghur population. In the West, the corruption and the inequalities also continued to grow. The politicians seemed unable to do anything about it. But the technology systems were mutating, morphing into ever more extreme forms. And out of that was going to come a completely new kind of management and control in the modern world. Unlike in China, it wouldn't try and bury people's emotions and feelings. It would work by doing the very opposite, pushing and exaggerating those emotions to a pitch of continual hysteria and suspicion that would create a frozen world, paralyzed by the distrust of everyone and everything. By now, the social media corporations had realized that intense emotions were the key to increased profits. And what were called viral content factories were growing rapidly online. Their aim was to spread memes and other material that would create what they called high arousal emotions, or activating emotions, such as lust and nostalgia and envy, or best of all, outrage. Because these were feelings that got people to pay attention longer and react more intensely, which then translated into many more clicks and shares. Then in 2014, a group of psychologists working with Facebook announced that they had found a way to put hidden messages into people's news feeds that would then create specific moods and feelings without the individuals being aware of it. It was the moment when the psychologists' theories of priming, or nudging, fused with the power of the new technology, and it seemed to show that manipulation could work on an industrial scale. But when it was revealed, it also had another unintended effect. It began to sow a dark suspicion into people's minds, because they no longer knew whether what they were feeling or thinking was their own, or really coming from outside sources. But for the machines, that was no problem, because suspicion was also another perfect high arousal emotion that they could feed off. And suspicion was about to spread uncontrollably across the internet, because into this mix came two terrible shocks. The first was Brexit, the other was the election of Donald Trump. The shock of both these was enormous, especially for the liberal classes, who had always seen themselves as protecting the working class. They protested, but the shock was so intense that many people found it difficult to process what had happened. They couldn't imagine why the people had not only turned against them and their benign care, but also seemed to have voted against their own best interests. And to explain it, they latched on to the idea of hidden manipulation, that thousands of voters in America and in Britain had been manipulated online without them realizing it. But then things became more complicated, because evidence had started to come out from the world of science that questioned the whole idea that people could be manipulated in such a way. Psychology researchers had tried to repeat a number of the most important experiments that were the foundations of modern behavioural psychology. They were astonished to find that again and again, when they repeated the experiments, they failed to get the original results. It seemed that much of the evidence for priming just wasn't there. It got so bad that one of the most famous psychologists in the world, who had promoted the idea of priming, Daniel Kahneman, wrote an open email to the Science of Psychology. "I see a train wreck looming," he said. "We have become the poster child for doubts about the integrity of psychological research." Kahneman was frightened because it was undermining the idea that he had helped create, that in the human brain were systems that the conscious self was unaware of, but which you, the psychologist, could trigger unconsciously. But it also had wider implications, because it meant that companies like Cambridge Analytica, who claimed that they could alter the way people behaved by priming, might just be exploiting the hysteria and the suspicion.
All right, so we're at the 40-minute mark of Can't Get You Out of My Head, about 20 minutes left in this doc. When it comes to this part here that they're talking about, that there's doubt that people were manipulated or tricked or misinformed into voting for Trump, I kind of disagree with that. I think that's the argument Adam Curtis is making here. I think there is a lot of priming that went into Trump becoming president, because for many years, before Trump was even considered a real nominee, Americans have been saying our country should be run like a business. Business, business, business. Profit is all that matters. Money and how businesses work is the prime way organizations should work. All types of organizations, even our government. So when Trump came, he sort of rolled into that as well. That's just one thing. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really catching what Adam Curtis is putting down, but Nelson, what do you think?
Like, what? About the priming?
Yeah, about priming, like doubting that people can be sort of like, you know, cajoled into certain modes of action that people sort of slowly adjust them to.
I think there are people, I think that, you know, you were saying, remember, I think in episode 2 or 3, that you doubted about behavioral psychology or something, that you had doubts about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not in its entirety. I don't fully reject it, but, you know, parts of it make sense to me. Go ahead.
So, like, I think what happened was that liberals, it spread throughout the liberal and leftist, so much more liberal spaces for what? So, like, to explain the rise of Donald Trump, they developed their own conspiracy theories, you know, that like the people didn't make a conscious decision to vote for Donald Trump or something like that out of whatever reason.
Right.
It was actually they're being manipulated by social media feeds and the Russians or something like that.
Right.
And it was a shock for Western elites, because they thought that, you know, they could manage society through, you know, behavioral psychology, nudging, targeting, messaging. But what they actually thought about, like, you know, in the labs, they found that hard to replicate, you know, and it became, and then massive contradictions disrupted that model, you know, because like what Trump was doing, very raw and crude and blunt, you know, messaging, you know, fucking spectacle. And because, like, you know, he says one thing and then the other day he says another thing, you know, it's like uncohesive messaging, really.
Damn.
But, like, what's cohesive is that he's uncohesive, you know.
What do we do? I don't know if Adam Curtis is going to make this point, but Trump is like the ultimate individual that he is sort of framing as truly outside the system. Because I think he always puts up these people as being like representatives of the idea that people are inherently want to be free. Don't spoil it for me, but there's an argument to be made that the incomprehensibility of Trump makes him more free.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I think it's not so much about him. It's about a death of a dream of the managerial class, you know, the technocrats. You know, like that this idea that you could scientifically manage people so they couldn't have a revolution or changing the system in a deeper way. It was bogus all along. It was based on bad science, you know.
Yeah.
You had already pointed. You didn't like notice that, but you had already pointed that out in previous episodes.
That the idea that you know we can manage all of human thoughts and ideas, you know, through these perfect systems.
You were saying what Adam is saying, right? You were doubting what Adam is doubting, like already in like episode 2, but I didn't say anything.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I came into the documentary a bit hot because, you know, it was there were parts where he was like heavily criticizing the Soviet Union and China, and there's a fair criticism to be had, but it just felt like, you know, the typical stuff liberals say about those places, you know what I mean?
Well, he's not a liberal.
Yeah.
But like, I have a question for you. Like, do you think he's saying like that it was the sciences that failed, you know, or was the elites that trusted it too much?
I believe what he is trying to say is that in our march forward in progress, right? Not that progress is inevitable, but we are striving towards progress, right? We've gone through different scientific journeys and excursions. We went through this idea that, you know, maybe inherently within us, there is no control over our mind, that we're sort of mindless, numbless beings moving around. Okay, that's not really true. Okay, maybe we're all just products of stimuli and what we've been taught. Well, that's not completely true, right? So as he continues to talk about psychology, the psychologists are, I would say in good faith, trying their best. And other people too, the ideologues, the fascists, communists, whatever, are trying their best to try to make a better world that's closer to who we really are, which we're still trying to understand. That's what I'm getting. What do you think?
Yeah. A world that satisfies our needs, yeah.
A world that satisfies our needs, and we don't even know what our needs really are yet.
Yeah. You said it really well. I think
that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
I think also like the part with the memes, you know, where they like this documentary episode, it made me much more aware of my social media hygiene, you know, because I'm much more aware of like, okay, this is here because this is really high arousal. It's very salient, you know. So this is why it's so popular, although it's fucking stupid as fuck. And before I would get stuck in the stupid part. I'll be like, why are you guys like, why are you people this stupid? Are people this fucking retarded?
Yeah.
But what's happening is that I'm seeing stuff that's getting like the algorithms promoting, you know, because it's very high arousal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that firsthand with my channel. You know, all the biggest videos I have are me, you know, angrily talking about racism, particularly in Albania, right? And racism is something that gets people hyped up and angry, whether you're accusing people of it or whether you're saying it doesn't exist, whatever, right? It just gets people's blood going. So, yeah, I feel like I was a part of that too, you know, like of playing into the algorithm. Like you're talking about getting the algorithm. I feel like I was a part of but you know what I mean? A part of the system of it.
Yeah. Like, I think, you know what? I think that's the point with Trump. That's why Trump is succeeded so much, because he's a high arousal politician in the social media age. He's perfect for the algorithm, if you think about it. Because now politics isn't so much like the new politics that's emerging, isn't so much managerial, technocratic, you know, science-based per se. It's becoming more reactive and emotional and primitive and populist.
And it's all amorphous nodes. You get what I'm saying? Just like what you're saying earlier. Like politics is
a reaction to those nodes.
Yeah, just a reaction without any true policy, without any true idea behind it, other than managing the nodes, reacting to the nodes, etc. You know?
Yeah, they have no real vision of the, like Curtis said, they have no real vision of the future, you know. But I think that's why also that's the larger point. That's the artistry of this documentary. It's why it's so dispersed throughout time, throughout space, and so forth. It's to replicate this feeling of confusion of last stage capitalism, of a lack of a center, you know.
I mean, I feel like this documentary is useful for maybe like a young person who's like really questioning like why we're in this world, you know, like somebody who's like either in that first year of undergraduate and they haven't read a book since like their freshman year of high school, but they want to get woke, they want to learn, so they'll do this. This is like a good entry point. It can sometimes teeter towards like conspiratorial thinking, but I'm glad that he talked about conspiracy in it to stop somebody going down that path. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like keep focused. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a method to this madness that's useful in this.
I think like it's important what he got from Tupac, that suspicion is another weapon.
Yeah. And
Illuminati.
Also, just going back, I didn't mention this because I just thought about it now. When he talked about how they brought Tupac back from the dead, with all this data and information that they could just put into a computer. I wonder if that's like, you know, our future, you know, the idea that there is no real death too, and maybe that's going to be, because we're at this part of the documentary where it's speculative now. We don't know how the story ends, right? And what he's talking about now is all this data that we're pushing into these computers to make things, to monitor us, but also to recreate us. Is that where we're headed, you know?
Yeah. Was there any hot chicks in this 10 minutes?
Mal's wife. Mal's wife was the hottest one.
I don't know. You know what? Yesterday I was seeing like stuff of Mal's wife when she was younger. I mean, she was really cute.
Exactly.
You know who she reminded me of?
Who?
Charlie XCX.
Exactly.
I was watching like when she was really young, and she looked like Charlie XCX.
That's crazy. She was a baddie.
And she was a total brat too.
It was Brat Life, Brat Summer.
Yeah, Brat Summer.
Brat Summer in the Cultural Revolution. Brat Summer in the Great Leap Forward.
What did you think about China and their time and them trying to do like this sort of utopia that Skinner thought of 50 years before?
What, the Walden too? Like China was trying to make Walden?
Yeah. And like it's trying instead of trying to like shape ideology and so forth, they're trying to like nudge behavior.
With like the social credit score and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I have to do more research. I feel like the way the social credit score is spoken about outside of China might be a bit distorted. But if let's just say I accept it on face value, it is a bit dystopian and weird. And you have to sort of justify why it's dystopian and weird, because we want people to buy good vegetables for their kids and not smoke and not beat up people, right? Like, you have to say, that's when you come to realize, like, okay, freedom is more than just having a vote or being able to speak. It's being able to not be seen, to not be monitored, to have privacy, you know? So
it's like what stood out to me as well. Yeah, you said it really well. But what also stood out to me, it's another example of a lack of a vision of the future. You know, it's more like control and stuff like that. It's not a real vision of the new future.
Yeah.
You know, Chinese Uyghur Muslim women.
Do I know a Chinese Uyghur Muslim woman?
Have you seen them?
I know of the Uyghurs. I didn't look at their women in particular.
They're really good looking too, man.
Okay. Is that the only point you wanted to make?
Yeah, that's the only point I wanted to make.
They're no different than a Kazakhstani.
They're having fun in them.
here in my university, there's plenty of Central Asians, and to me, they're kind of plain. Like if you meet somebody from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, they're not like drop dead gorgeous, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the woman they have there, they look good. I've seen them; they look good.
Okay.
They look a little Mongolian, a little round. They have like these really cool cheekbones.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I don't know, man. I think the guards are having a good time there. Man.
In your past life, Nelson, you were one of those British explorers, like measuring skull sizes. You're like the Tajiks have some of the largest frontal lobes we've ever seen.
I'll be like those explorers, spreading my seeds throughout the globe.
God. Okay, so I got 30 minutes until I gotta go to work. So we're gonna have to rush through this last section. We got about 20 minutes left in the doc. So we're gonna let it run, give a brief comment at the 50-minute mark, and then come back. All right, let's go.
The Liberal opposition became lost in an endless conspiracy theory, constantly searching for hidden clues, links and fragments of evidence to prove that really Vladimir Putin and firms like Cambridge Analytica had orchestrated Brexit and the election of Donald Trump. It was a mood of hysteria that ran out of control.
Whether the President of the United States was a Russian agent. Let me say that again. Whether the US President might have been working for the Russians.
The wall's closing in. As it appears, the walls are closing in terms of the Mueller investigation. The walls are closing in.
The walls are closing in.
I do feel that he feels the walls closing in on him.
Legal walls are closing in on Donald Trump tonight.
From a Democratic perspective, this is the president who feels like the walls are closing in. As he feels the walls are closing in.
I think he's feeling the Russian investigation. I think he's feeling the walls closing in on him.
But what had really been manufactured by the hysteria and the suspicion was a constant source of those high arousal emotions that the machines needed. They didn't care about the meaning of what people thought or felt about Donald Trump. They just fed off the waves of paranoia, making the technology companies ever more profitable and powerful. But many of those old institutions who had been sidelined also found that by promoting the suspicions, they could regain their power.
Trump is about to call me. Can't trust what they tell us.
Major newspapers in America and in Britain that might have gone bankrupt without Donald Trump were rescued by the continual waves of conspiracy theories they revealed. While the intelligence agencies, who only a few years before had been hated because they had invented the weapons of mass destruction, now became heroic truth-tellers, revealing ever more hidden conspiracies. And Vladimir Putin, whose power in reality was becoming increasingly fragile at home in Russia, became in the eyes of the West a dark, malevolent force, which made him seem far stronger than he really was.
Так, друзья, обрадуем жителей данного подъезда, повесим Владимира Владимировича прямо в лифт. Так, ровненько, ровненько, ровненько. Отлично, кажется.
Твою мать!
О, ну что это?
Ё-моё!
Вот ты ой, ёб твою мать!
And for Donald Trump, the paranoia allowed him to hide the fact that he was doing nothing to get rid of the corruption in America, as he had promised. His supporters, though, had their own conspiracy theory, QAnon, that explained why nothing was happening. Trump was being stopped by a secret cabal of paedophiles in Washington. And for the Liberal opposition, it was a way of avoiding facing up to the genuine grievances and the very real anger in America that Trump's election had revealed. That he might be the product of a country where large areas had fallen into both desolation and despair. Towns where all the factories had closed. Millions had become addicted to opioids. And yet no one in power had come to rescue them. But the Liberals couldn't face this, because they too had no idea of how to solve those problems. And outside, in the real world, nothing actually changed. The structure of power, the inequalities, and the decay all carried on unchecked. while all kinds of groups who wanted to cling on to power protected themselves behind this brittle shell of conspiracy theories, built out of disconnected fragments. But it was a very fragile structure. And at this point, Google's engineers demonstrated how easily reality in this fragmented world could become strange and frightening. They created an AI program to learn how to see dogs. They then show how if they ran the algorithm backwards, the machines would alter the images of reality they were being fed, so they would see dogs everywhere. It was a world where anything could be anything, because there was no real meaning any longer. And then into this fragile structure came a catastrophe, COVID. Unlike the other catastrophes of the past 20 years, like 9/11 and the economic crash of 2008, the virus was a force that came from completely outside the systems of power. But it has come at a moment when many of the old certainties of this age are already cracking.
Oh, I'm gonna shoot you in your head, you understand me? Don't you get me, I'm gonna shoot you in your head, you hear me?
But the virus did more than just accelerate the chaos. It has dramatically brought into focus just how deep the inequalities in modern Western societies have gone. The millions of low-paid workers who have to keep working to prevent the societies from collapsing are at much higher risk, and those living in deprived areas are suffering much higher rates of illness and of death. Those who benefit from the system of power, it seems, are much safer than those who do not, and are also getting much richer as the markets keep rising in the pandemic. In the past, the shock of catastrophes has often led to a radical reorganization of societies. And it may be that even in the grim uncertainty of these days, that same impulse to imagine other kinds of future will emerge. One possible future is that individualism will disappear, and with it, the very idea of individual freedom. As has already begun in China, data will be gathered and used on a massive scale to predict and manage all human behavior, in the way that the psychologist B.F. Skinner predicted. He said that individualism would be just a brief moment in history before science would find a way to manage and control everyone. You would, said Skinner.
All right, so we're going to pause right here at the 50-minute mark. We only had 10 minutes left in this documentary. That last part was interesting. There was a bit of comedy when he started talking about how these Google data center computers, they were programmed to see dogs, and then when you reverse program it, you see dogs everywhere, and then you get the kaleidoscope image of frogs as dogs and tadpoles as dogs, etc. And I think Adam Curtis is sort of like tying the knots, putting the bow on the gift that is this documentary by saying, like, you should see patterns from what the stories that we've told here are. Like, you see dogs everywhere.
Yeah.
So what did you think about any of the last 10 minutes?
I think, like, it's about, good point. I think it was about how resilient this shit is, like, basically, and like, how the frustration, the lack of response of the institutionally aligned people, the liberal aligned people, like how Trump came up with a new politics style, but the underlying system survived.
Yeah.
COVID came and disrupted, but the underlying system survived. And what these people have to offer is the same managerial stuff from before, which is competence, continuity, and whatever the fuck, like that image, like the Keir Starmer type of style. They're trying to insist. They're still trying to do.
Yeah, it still can work, guys. It can work. Very interesting. Like, I guess, our systems have been resilient in so much change, right? I guess also what I'm also getting that's resilient is people's distrust for authority. When they did the social experiment of this apartment having a picture of Putin in the elevator, and everybody walked in there, and they were like, and they're like, and some of those people might be more Putinish or right wing, but people just naturally.
These days,
huh?
These days they're more Putin, probably.
Yeah, maybe back then not so much, but these are probably old conservative people. They looks like it, even though their faces are blurred, right? But still, when confronted with it, they're like, ugh, brother, you know? So I thought about doing the same thing. Like, not before, I'm saying, like, after seeing this, what if I put a picture of Orban in the elevator here? Like, what would...
The secret camera?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to afford a secret camera, but just to see...
You know that guy, his opponents, that they recorded him fucking or something?
Yeah, there's like a sex tape of the opposition guy just having sex with his girlfriend, not even like nasty. He's not a child or anything. It's just his girlfriend.
He should do like a campaign like that, you know, where he put pictures of Orban.
Yeah, just put them out there, just pictures of Orban everywhere. See what happens. Here in Budapest, right? There are no pro opposition posters. Like the TISA party, which is the biggest party, that's the opposition, and the one that's slated to win, there's almost no posters for them. But there are tons of anti-TISA posters everywhere in Budapest. You get what I'm saying?
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know if they are banned. I don't know if they don't have the money. Or maybe it's understood that Budapest is going to vote for TISA, so they're campaigning elsewhere. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. We have some other right-wing, like super right-wing parties. We have a fascist party called Mi Haznak. And we also have, like, basically centrist called the Democracia Coalition. They have some ads, but mostly you just see anti-TISA party ads everywhere. So, yeah.
Like, I have just one more question first. So, do you think Fort Curtis, right, that the problem is that the system is too stable or it's like too, static, stuck?
I would say more static and stuck. And that's because no matter what type of system you make to try to meet people's needs or to manage the status quo, it's naturally within humans to want to tear down those systems, fight against those systems, reformat them. That's what I'm getting. What do you think?
I guess it's kind of just, I don't know, the system is too good at adapting, really. I think that's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our system is like built to adapt, built to not change, right? And people don't want it to change too. People have bought into it, right, to some degree.
It's like a super Darwinian animal.
Yes. And it's just gonna keep mega evolving. Well, we got 10 more minutes left, and I got 20 more minutes till class. So we're gonna watch the last 10, give our last commentary, and that's gonna be a wrap. Let's go. Let's go.
Those who benefit from the system of power, it seems, are much safer than those who do not, and are also getting much richer as the markets keep rising in the pandemic. In the past, the shock of catastrophes has often led to a radical reorganization of societies. And it may be that even in the grim uncertainty of these days, that same impulse to imagine other kinds of future will emerge. One possible future is that individualism will disappear, and with it, the very idea of individual freedom. As has already begun in China, data will be gathered and used on a massive scale to predict and manage all human behaviour, in the way that the psychologist B.F. Skinner predicted. He said that individualism would be just a brief moment in history, before science would find a way to manage and control everyone. You would, said Skinner, create a world that is beyond freedom and dignity.
Skinner believes that experimental analysis of behavior suggests that man's environment performs many of the functions once attributed to his inner feelings. A man feels free if he believes he is free, and he will believe he is free if he is conditioned by positive reinforcement to think so. His only hope is that he will come under the control of a natural and social environment which will enable him to pursue happiness successfully.
Another possibility is that the future will be like the past. Many people are hoping that with the election of Joe Biden in America, it will be possible to return to an old stability. where individualism can continue to be managed by a benign elite. But although Donald Trump is gone, and the Brexit deal done, what they both revealed was that underneath Western societies there are enormous pressures building up that will not go away. While protests have broken out again in Russia, after the arrest of Alexei Navalny, tens of thousands came out onto the streets demanding an end to the corrupt regime led by Vladimir Putin. The reality is that all these societies, not just America and Britain, but China and Russia too, are exhausted, empty of any new ideas. All of them have corruption that has burrowed deep into their institutions, corruption that the politicians seem powerless to stop. While China, which many believe is a model for the future, is underneath a society not only riddled with corruption, but its growth is declining far more than the official figures reveal, while its population is rapidly aging. Far from being an alternative future, China may well be yet another old, decaying society that relies on a powerful surveillance system to maintain its power, because it too has no other vision of the future. The third possibility is to try to imagine genuinely new kinds of futures, ones that have never existed before. But to do that, we as individuals will have to regain the confidence that we have lost in this frightened and uncertain time. But already the psychological theories that tell us we are weak and manipulable are cracking. And more people are beginning to realize that the fragmented emotions of anxiety and suspicion that they feel inside them may really be just the raw material for the technology corporations to feed off. It may be that we are really far stronger than we think. The one thing that is certain is that the world of the future will be different, and that the people in that future will feel and think differently too. If we can regain our confidence, we will find that we have the power to influence how that future turns out. And as a first step, we have to start imagining what kind of future it is we want to build. The anthropologist and activist David Graeber, who died last year, described the forgotten idea that is
All right, so we're going to pick up here. I think the rest of the documentary is just going to be this song playing. So we're just going to pick up with this part, and just discuss it. I think the last 10 minutes that Adam Curtis was speaking really summed up nicely what he was trying to get across with this documentary, that essentially all systems have some inherent problem within them in our new century that we're in, and we're searching for new answers to questions that still have not been resolved. Even after, so much history has passed, we're still dealing with how to best create a world that maximizes human happiness. And we're still on that struggle. We're still on that journey. What did you think, Nelson?
I think, that's the title of this episode. Are we pigeons? Like those B.F. Skinner's pigeons,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or are we dancers, capable of creativity and agency, Are we just reactive things? Or, are we improvisational things, artistic things, I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that these systems of control, they're not as efficient and as accurate, I guess, efficient, accurate, and sophisticated as they want us to think, that we actually have a lot more power underneath our feelings of confusion and so forth.
Yeah, that does give me some optimism, because the future that he did sort of lay out is still very bleak. We're up against incredible forces, right? But the point he made is that the anger, suspicion, resentment we fear can be weapons against this system. Even though they weaponize it against us, we get angry. So then we comment on TikTok, and then we get fed more angry content on TikTok, right? Like, if we channel that anger in a different direction, we can make actual change.
And that's why I think this documentary relied upon a lot about on the Shakur family, on that guy that tried
your
that
guy
writer,
Michael X.
the guy Michael X. Like that maybe that artists, thinkers, cultural theorists, they're part of that new process maybe. People like Tupac, Issa Shakur, and so forth.
Yeah. No, I think by pointing out these individuals, he was actually making a very good, point that the individual is desiring to be free. I keep on hammering this back home, but it's sort of when he showed the, pictures of these people, at the very end.
Yeah.
Like, it was like hammering back that point that these people want to be free. They were fighters to try to be free. And they might have been flawed, but it's still inherent within us that this is what we want. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that collective change does often come from the individual. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, we're about to wrap it up. We've been on live for an hour and 40 minutes. So I want to give a shout out to my guy Nelson for joining. Thanks for joining, Nelson.
Thank you.
We also have.
I hope you really liked the documentary.
I actually did. I think episodes 2 and 6 are my favorite. The other ones were kind of good. 1 was good too. I would say 6, 2, 1 are my top 3. So.
Yeah.
But we have some other people up in the chat. I'm sorry that you came up so late. But if there's anything you want to say, I give you the chance to unmute, and you can say anything you want. But we're about to cut this short. So